My name is Raymond Barr, and I'm the project director of the Canton History Project. And today I'll be talking to you about the Industrial Revolution that took place in Canton in 1828 and extended itself to about the 1980s. We had a hint that this was coming because in 1838 we discovered that the Harris Creek, which was the first Navy Yard in the United States where the Constellation was built, had a bridge placed over the neck of the creek and no longer could make wooden boats anymore, and was in essence did away with Harris Creek. And it was the reason was for transportation and product, and the question why? Because this was the first Navy Yard in the United States, and something had to be more important than that. And what was important was what was about to take place. Uh, Canton going from a seashore town to one of industrialization, a lot of bustling factories, trains, buildings, smokestacks, etc. So why was this taking place? Well, I got here the Big Bang again, but what I'm trying to say, a lot of things came into play and were at the right time. And the first had to do with competition, commerce, and trade, because we were losing it to the people who developed the Erie Canal that went from the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes to Ohio. At that time, Ohio was the West. So we were trying to, in some way, form or another, compete with them and get to the West. And one of the ways we were doing it was in 1828 in this area. We were also creating the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, which could compete with them if we could get it going and the like. So that was starting up at that time. Uh, there was also a great amount of land along deep water which was available. And stream power from the falls, which was being used for industry, was giving way to steam power that could be, the key word is mobile, could be used in factories, on ships, and on the railroads. So we were trying in some way or another to compete with them. And not only that, but we had access to the Chesapeake Bay as well as to throughout beyond the Chesapeake Bay itself. And so what happened was, again, trains were coming. The B&O was being pulled by horses until the steam engine allowed it to be powered by steam. And there was a lot of speculation on Wall Street about the Canton area because what was taking place on a large amount of acreage along deep water and trains coming. So Peter Cooper uh, bought, came actually an industrialist from New York came into town and was tricked into buying the O'Donnell estate, which was 3,000 acres, mostly in the district area, but also down along Clinton Street itself. And he purchased it, and within a short period of time, brought other people into the deal to create the Canton Company. This is Peter Cooper. And these people created the Canton Company of Baltimore, which lasted from 1828 to the 1980s. And unique about this was the charter given it, to it by the state of Maryland, which allowed it to, in essence, build a mini city, to build roads, to pave streets, to build piers, to create a shipping industry. It was almost like a little Baltimore, creating, allowing it to orchestrate the industries And this it did for over 150 years. And I think a lot of the success of these companies was due to what the Canton Company was able to offer them. For example, in the late 1980s, they built them a railroad, the Union Railroad, which connected to the industries along the shores, but also connected to the B&O and to Pennsylvania Railroad, allowing connection to industry to the trunk railroads as well. So the Canton Company had a lot to do with setting up the neighborhood, making it a working neighborhood, and having high retention for a long period of time for industry that was about to take place down here. And then after, in the late 1990s, the Colgate estate was purchased, and this, along with the O'Donnell estate, made for a huge footprint of the Canton Company of Baltimore. This is a composite view showing many of the industries. There were more than 150 industries over the course of that period of time, and there's a blue look of industries that did become successful down here. And in essence, what the Canton Company did was it played a major role in Baltimore becoming a major seaport and manufacturing city. It provided a stable employment base for decades. I'm talking 50, 60 years, and it remained one of the oldest and most successful industrial park developments in America's history. It was a planned development. The company once controlled substantial acreage, which it developed over a century and a half and generated an employment for thousands of workers and millions of dollars of investment in Baltimore. It would pick up its greatest successes developing the maritime shoreline industries that gained access to the shipping channels of the Chesapeake Bay and ports throughout the world. It was major. And how did this development take place? Well, I put in here some of the dates in which the industries came on board, and as you can see, it developed along this pattern right here. It started in the Canton area, first 50, 60 years or so. Then the next 50, 60 years went down Clinton Street, developed the shipping industry, and then out further to the east, developed the large industries such as General Motors, Lever Brothers, Western Electric, and now the Amazon conglomerate, etc. This is actually a map of the Canton Company, and this is the map in 1901, just showing you that a lot of the areas in yellow were still owned by the Canton Company, and they were being leased out. They would bring a company in, work with them, go become partnership with them, develop them, and then sell them the land after a period of time. So that 1950, most of this land that was being leased was then sold, and the only thing left was this park called Canton Center out and towards Back River. The Baltimore City is at that time was not as large as it is now. In 1816, it was only about 13 square miles. So about 1830, 1840, it was probably maybe 20 square miles, which is, not that large in terms of population. And the Canton Company of Baltimore was about 1/3 the acreage of Baltimore City. And in fact, the first president of the Canton Company of Baltimore criticized Baltimore for establishing the center in the basin of the water, where it was shallow, and he should have done it in Canton, where the depth of the water was 30 to 40 feet. His name, by the way, was Shepard Leakin, and the Leakin Park is named after him. And he was CEO for the Canton Company for about 5 years, and then he went from there to become mayor of Baltimore. So a lot of these people were civil-minded people. They were in and out as CEO and mayor of Baltimore. John Garrett, Enoch Pratt, John Hopkins, all were a part of the Canton Company of Baltimore at one time. Now we get back to the manufacturing district, and that was Canton itself. And it's the same as the Canton Historic District right now. One of the first things it did was lay streets, build houses. It built 18,000 houses at one time, 20 by 100, and made them cheap because they didn't have to pay for the ground. They gave them what they call ground rent, which was cheaper, allowing them to come in. The company was very benevolent to these people, built their churches, and did a lot for them. Its purpose was to build a working class neighborhood that would respond to industrial needs in the area for a long period of time, and this it did very successfully. And you can see here, this is on day one, sort of laying out streets and the like. And the first industry that jump-started the Industrial Revolution was the oyster industry. And why? Because we were getting 15 million bushels of oysters every year from the Chesapeake Bay. And Baltimore oysters. And bringing them up from the Chesapeake Bay, I've always been amazed at these three-piece suits they were wearing, because I wonder how they got kept them clean during the day. But if you recall, early baseball games, they would be dressed up very similarly. And the oysters would be placed in cans initially before they developed the hermetically sealed can. And this became a great product in order to export. And there was tremendous demand at the time in terms of the 49ers going to Alaska, as well as the Civil War soldiers. And this was the first fast food industry in the United States, was canning, because you could take the can with you and open it up and have your meal. And then when you had cans, initially the company employed their own tin maker, and usually they were Welsh, and they could do maybe about 7 or 8 cans an hour. But this area progressed over a short period of time, and towards the end of it, the companies were making 5 million cans a day, and it collected a lot of companies at that time. And then one of the companies was the tin decorating company, because it not only made cans, but not labeled them, it actually decorated them. And this is the tin decorating company. They would make, they have 3,000 employees, and 30 of which were graphic artists who did special cans, such as Easter Rabbit and plates, roly-poly, tobacco tin cans, etc. And then after the canning industry and the oyster canning industry came the availability of tremendous amounts of produce from the Eastern Shore, vegetables and fruits and the like. So they said, well, instead of working just 4 months a year, can't we work the entire year and start packing industry, which they did. And they had these packing companies all throughout the Canton area. And the people working the packing companies were the Bouchas, the women, and they would bring their kids with them. to watch them as well as to get their help along the way. Myself being shown from the um, American Can. This was an icon that almost we lost several years ago to development, but John Kane and many other people from Canton did a lot to preserve this. This was at one time the largest one in the world, and we're quite proud that it has stayed around with us. So I hope you've had a chance to appreciate what did take place here. I think it's important for you to remember that it was not just industrialization, it was industrialization that was orchestrated by very civic-minded people, and it was accomplished successfully for over 150 years. And it still goes on today because the Eastern Extension and now in the old airport where the super ships and the containers are coming in from the Panama Canal, which has been enlarged. We also have Amazon and all the conglomerates that go along with Amazon, and we also have the tech companies up around Brewers Hill that are connecting with what's going on at Bayview in terms of the buildings going from 4 buildings to a huge number of buildings, and we're seeing fusion of medicine and technology. So we have a lot going for us in the Canton area, but it's got its initial success here in 1828 from the Canton Company, and I would hope you appreciate that as much as I do. Thank you for listening.